Right, we're live. And for the first time, I managed to get on without breaking the system or the camera or anything. So what you can see on the screen for all of the 0 people that are here at the moment is 2 videos that I've just finished. So the first one is the Apotec Queen Cell Incubator. We call it a video on that. And then probably my favorite video of the year, definitely the one that's taken me the longest to film so far, is the smoker versus the Propolis. So they're both on the channel, the membership section of the channel at the moment. Feel free to go in and have a look. What I'm doing today is I'm just going through some comments. So it is blowing a gale outside, and I reckon everyone is inside doing nothing. I certainly can't get out to do anything today. So I thought, what a good chance to get up to date with some comments and have a chat with you guys. So I'm just going to go through. Hope you've all enjoyed the videos recently. We've been doing like a video a day, so we've had a good stockpile. Time is Honey, hello. I saw you on a live stream the other day. I was going to say hello, but then why did I not say hello in the end? I had to go and do something, so I thought I didn't want to pop in and say hello and then leave. But I thought what I would say, you have a mighty fine beard, very good beard. But that was cool. I love the live streams. I do think they're very good fun. Right, so we've got a few people in. Time is Honey from Texas, very nice. EJ Arctic Beekeeping from Northern Norway, very nice. We're moaning about a little bit of wind over here today, but it is actually quite bad. 122 miles an hour on the Isle of Wight, and there is no roof left on the O2. So I'm just getting my new favourite toy. This is a really cool toy. I'm going to show you it now. I don't know if anyone's seen this before. I couldn't find many YouTube videos on this. I'm just going to try and get it to work now. Yeah, here we go. Right. Has anyone seen this before? The Propolis. So it's an electronic bee smoker, but like a completely, the guy tells me off, I'm not allowed to call it a smoker. It's a vaporizer. Check this out. How cool is that? Propolis, that is on the membership section already, and it'll be out in about a week in terms of looking at the video. So I've had good fun with that. But you'll have to wait and see a little bit more. You turn it off. It's not got an on and off switch. That's how you turn it off. Pretty cool, I think. So as normal, I'm just going to go through answering questions that are on the channel. There's loads of questions. I'm really struggling to keep up with the questions in the comments. So I do apologise if I've not got in contact with people and got back to the comments. I just not got the time at the moment. So I try and do as many as I can on this video, and I'll also answer people's questions in the chat, and I'll give priority to those. So I've seen a couple come up first. Karen saying, I saw your video on creamed honey. What happens if you get bubbles in it? That is a problem with both oilseed rape honey and borage honey are the two that I find are really bad. But you just get a little bit of like foam on the top. Some people really like it. It goes like a real thick honey meringue, and it is impossible to get rid of it. But it's really nice. So you just got to try not to get bubbles in it. With that drill method, you don't get bubbles in it because you're not really kind of whipping it up too much. But there's no issue if you do get bubbles in it. But it works cool. Arctic Beekeeping saying, does it block pheromones like a normal smoker? So yeah, so Propolis, and you'll see this on the video, it is a little bit like an advertorial, the video. But I had good fun with it. They have done tons and tons of studies showing the effectiveness between using smoke and using their bee vaporizer. And what they think in terms of the studies is that it's less stressful for the bees, but quite a lot more effective in terms of keeping them calm, blocking the pheromones. And it certainly doesn't get in your eyes, which is really nice. Just looking at some other ones on here then. What do you think about FSM? What do you think about robotic beekeeping? I think it's really cool. I know there's a company, I can't remember what their name is Israeli-based company, and they've been doing it for a good few years now and been very successful with their crowdfunding. But it's like just a big side of a truck that you go and plonk in a field and come back at the end of the year, and they reckon it's not, all of the colonies haven't swarmed and you've just got loads of honey. I love stuff like that. You'll never see me dismissing anything innovative, people trying stuff new. I think it's really cool. Georgina saying, love the videos, thank you. I hope everyone's okay. Like, I've seen some of the pictures around the country and it's pretty bad. We've seemed to have dodged, touch wood, the worst of it at the moment. It's not been too bad up here at all. was out this morning and it was like fully sunny and calm. And it's kind of a bit windy now, a bit windy, a bit rainy, but not too bad at all. I'm not going back out, no chance. Well, I'm going to answer some of the questions on the channel then. So I'm just trying to get through all of them, and I will, as always, I'll just stick a little note in there saying answered on live stream 170222. So I know that's not really an answer for that one, Joe, but yeah, I hope your mimosa tree comes back at some point. Right, so Ralph is saying, do I have a link to the drill bit that I used for the soft set honey video? So the answer is no, I don't, because in the UK you can't get them. I got that second hand because I know that drill bit's really good, but it's a German-made drill bit and you can't get them anymore. So it's a little bit rubbish. You have to win it in the competition. Is the only way you can get one. But I think most of the drill bits do kind of do pretty much the same thing. So this question here, Mike at Coon Lake Hives, talking about the cork beehive video that I did, and it's a perfect example of I like comments like this, like perfectly courteous. Doesn't agree with what I've done, but's kind of given his argument for it, and I agree. So he says, lot of work and cost for less than an R4 increase. So we're talking about an insulation level increase with no clear way to seam/seal it. And a general rule for housing heat rises is to have 3 times as much insulation on the ceiling roof compared to the walls. My 2 cents. So no problem at all, people commenting like that. Very much welcome it. My response would be, I think what I'm going to do is put like a 3mm piece of ply on the outside, just to give it that extra level of protection from the water getting into it. And then I did mention in the video, I fully agree with your comment there, I did mention it about doubling up the insulation on top of the cluster. So putting the crown board on, you might have missed that bit, but you don't want to insulate the walls really loads and then not insulate above, because then you're going to cause more problems. Yeah, okay. There's quite a lot of comments about soft set honey because people are entering the competition. So I'm just going to try and jump through all of them here. Any other comments on here? Arctic Beekeeper saying, what do you sell heather honey for? Here in the north, we can get 60 to 80 BP for 1 kilogram. I'm not sure what BP is, but what I found up here is that it demands a premium and people are willing to pay it, but far fewer people are willing to pay it. So we kind of find, well, you need to find a happy medium. So at the moment, we sell it for like £1 more per jar, and we sell quite a bit of it. We find the heather blend is actually more popular. A lot of people don't like heather honey. I sometimes find heather honey can be like a little bit strong. Let's have a look at some of these other questions in. There's quite a lot of ones about the soft set honey. Right, this one here from Glynis saying gloves that I was wearing. So in this video here, I was using my BB-wear gauntlet, ultra-wear gauntlets that were stitched onto a rubber glove, and they were so good. I love those gloves, but you couldn't really, you couldn't get them through the whole season. It was so difficult because they weren't designed. The gloves, actual glove bit, weren't designed to be properly clean. So every time you washed them, they degraded a little bit. So they were from BB-wear, custom made from BB-wear. But I wouldn't suggest doing it because it didn't last very long. I'm just going to flick through until we get to some that aren't on soft set honey. A lot of comments. This is why I've been struggling. Right, Joshua. He was saying about where did I get my metal smoker box. So I got mine from a Bello. They do 2 versions. They do kind of like a cheaper one and a more expensive stainless one. And then Thorn do a really good one as well. Yellow one that you can keep things in. Few different places do them. They're all pretty much the same. All right, got a few questions in the chat there. And so Kevin saying, you've got buckfast colonies and want to requeen with native Irish AMM. Would they accept? Thanks, love the channel. Yeah, I've had no issue requeening between kind of blacks and oranges at all. Some people do say that they'll tend to not kind of accept them, but I've never found that. If you search for the method that I use, which is that quite long-winded method, it does work, and it leaves them with absolutely no choice. Kenty's keep saying, are you expecting any damage, or do you think we'll all be okay? I don't want to tempt fate. It's not that bad up here though. So the biggest risk for us is that trees will come down and smash up the hives. And like in some apiaries, you could get like a big pine tree come down and just take out 30 hives. And that's the big risk for us. So I'm not worried about them tipping over. They're all quite strapped down. And if they do tip over, you can rescue them. I'll go around tomorrow morning. Right, so next one on here then. Naughty Goat Farm. What a cool name for a YouTube channel. Saying, is it okay to use PVA glue when putting together a beehive like this? Talking about the fake flow hive that I bought. What can I use them rather than paint to protect the timber inside and out? Can I use a mix of beeswax and boiled linseed oil? So I never paint the inside. I never treat or do anything to the inside. Some people do like to kind of make up a Propolis tincture with some alcohol and paint that on the inside. But the bees do that anyway. So I never do anything on the inside of polyhives or wooden hives. In terms of PVA glue, no problem whatsoever. I use Type 1-3. That's my favorite one. Exterior grade PVA glue. Works really well. And then can you use a mix of beeswax and boiled linseed oil? Yeah, I've seen people do that. You can also completely dip them in wax as well. Mixture of different waxes. That's what a lot of the bee farms do. I forgot to forget that I put on ticket, so it's been answered. I do feel bad, like I get all these questions down. I used to set aside like an hour a day to go through them, and it would take me way longer than an hour a day at the moment because there is a lot. But there's some great questions in here, right? So Mark says, hi Laurence, thanks for the great videos. As a really new beekeeper, the wide range of subjects and information you covered is massively helpful. Thanks, Mark. As we're not massively interested in huge honey production, so he's talking about long hives here in particular. So as we're not massively interested in huge honey production and only in keeping a couple of colonies for fun, the long hive seems like a good future upgrade for us. However, I wondered if there were any special methods for managing the swarming process of colonies in a long hive. So I've only had a long hive for a year, and it is difficult to manage the swarming process in a long hive. You really do limit the amount of things that you can do. The only way that you can really manage it is make sure they've got enough space, and you do that by removing honey frames constantly, just taking out honey frames as soon as they're capped and replacing them with foundation. If you've got it, preferably foundation, not drawn comb, just to give the bees something to do, give them something to draw and try and keep that swarm impulse down as low as possible. But like, I don't know what I would do. I've not found charged swarm cells in a long hive yet. The only real thing you can do is just get a nuke, make up a split, and keep on splitting. But you can't keep on doing that indefinitely because you just end up with hundreds and hundreds of colonies. So good luck with it, though. I do love my long hive. Right, so I'm going to flick through all of the soft set comments. A lot of people in that competition. So Paula Jones saying, does the cork get damp on the outside and do you have to paint it? So cork is naturally water resistant. And from what I've seen when other people have done this, unless it's sitting on a horizontal surface and pooling on it, it should be okay. But I'm a little bit concerned about it now. So I'm not going to paint it. I'm not going to seal it because I think if it did absorb it anyway, it would bust through the seal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of cut like a bit of metal, or if I want to go fully compostable, cut like a bit of pine, thin 3mm pine, and just stick that on the outer bits just to protect it. It's only one hive, it's not going to take me long, so I'm going to do that. Right, other questions on the chat then. Cesar, is that how you say it? Hi from Andover, Hampshire. My hives are still in one piece. How bad is the wind in your area? It's really not that bad. I've not gone out and seen what the hives are looking like yet, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's forecast like 70 here, so at the low end of what was forecast. And I think you've got like red, amber, and then yellow maybe, and we're on the cusp between amber and yellow. So we're miles away from all that bad stuff going on down south, which is nice. But I do hope everyone's hives are okay. EJ saying, have you tried any other hybrid types except for Buckfast? I've heard that if mated well, an Italian Carniolan hybrid could often do really well. I've not got any experience of that. I've had some Carnies, and some of the Yolantas are Carnica, and they're very good. A bit more frugal over winter. Massive spring expansion. Can bring in a lot of honey, and I've not found that they're overly swarmy. That's what people have said to me, and I've seen people saying that about Manuka. So, but they're the only ones I've really tried, kind of local mongrels, Buckfast and Manuka. I'm going to try some more this year. I'm going to play around with some different types this year. Right, let's have a look at some more of these comments in. There's so many on this soft set drill. You can see there's a lot. You imagine me trying to get back to all these, it'd be a nightmare. Okay, that one there talking about the Apitec Queen Cell Incubator that I bought. So that's quite fun. That's like a membership question. Let's get back to that one. Sorry. Right, we'll get past all these in a minute. Don't worry. Josh saying, what would you say is better for spring build-up, sugar water or inverted syrup? Either. It doesn't matter. 2 to 1, 1 to 1, whatever. They will build up on it. You don't need anything more than 1 to 1. Sugar syrup's fine. It's not going to go off. They don't need to store it. I would just go with whatever is cheapest. And 1 to 1 homemade sugar syrup using cold water would be fine for that. And do it little and often. You can get yourself in a lot of trouble doing feeding in the spring, because if there's not enough space for the bees and you give them like 15 litres of 1 to 1 syrup, they just suck it all down, and then they're kind of like, what are we doing now? And there's no space for them. And then the queen can't lay, and then the bees don't really know what to do. So you want to do it little and often, just kind of, if you can do it like half a litre a day, really good. Half a litre to a litre a day, and just do it every day over the course of like 2 or 3 weeks, and making sure they've constantly got space. And once they've got through that whole box, give them another box and keep on feeding. But we don't feed in the spring. Only if you kind of want to make up splits or do something different, or you're queen rearing, just let them get on with it. Like I've been going around checking, when I've been checking my colonies, I've been lifting them up, checking them for weight. Some of them have been a bit light, but most of them have been okay, but they're massive. Oh, wow. Like box fillers, all of them. Like I'd say on average, it's between 8 and 9 frames of 14 by 12. And some of them are just completely filling the box already. So there's no way I'd be feeding them. They're where I want them to be. I want some nice cold weather to see them through, get through to April, and just load them up with the supers. That's the plan. Right, Georgina Roberts said on the Should You Not Kill Honeybees video, that was quite controversial, this one, saying she loves the video. She has one mega grumpy colony at home. Why? They've taught me more than any other colony, and they've taught me how to read bees, and I continue to learn from them every season. I now understand if they lynch me, it's 90% of the time it's me, as opposed to the other 10% of the time they're just, I'll let you make up what's in the stars there. Still have to take a few deep breaths before I pop the lid though. I'd agree with that. You can really, and I found this with the gloves that I was wearing last year and the ultra suit that I wear, it breeds really bad beekeeping habits because you're so fully protected from them. And I do think there's a place to be stung. You should get stung, and you should know how to read your bees, and you should know when to back off, and you should know how to handle them properly and not squish them and move them around and not roll the queen and all of that. But yeah, I'm getting rid of all of my angry colonies just because of the queen rearing side. I don't want to have those genetics in my apiary anymore. But I fully appreciate what you say. You can learn a lot managing a horrible colony like that. EJ saying about using a drip feeding. Yeah, trickle feeding is surprisingly effective. 10 litres of syrup at once versus 10 litres over 10 days is completely different, and it really does make a big difference. I hope you can see how many comments I'm getting there. It's good. I love it. Thanks for all the comments. Right, that one there is more. Oh, you're getting some snippets of some videos that are coming up. Pros and cons of Brexit beekeeping. That is controversial, that one, isn't it? Feel free to say in the comments whether you voted in or out. I reveal all in that video. Right, David saying, what grain of cork would I suggest? So I went with the coarse cork grain on there because I just thought it might hold up a little bit better. I don't think it makes a massive difference. My basis for that was that it was there was going to be more air encapsulated in it, which is going to give it a better insulation value. Let's have a look. Sinister Hippo is not only an amazing YouTube name, but he knows his beekeeping stuff. The comments he puts in, he knows it all great, and I have very good conversations with him. So I've been going kind of back and forth on that. And he's saying everything you say about insulation is completely correct. A cork is a fantastic alternative to poly. Inside the hive, it can encourage propolis for a hygiene envelope around the colony. Very interesting. But what he was saying is that it is a bit prone to things nibbling at it. So I'm going to keep an eye on it, and we'll see how it goes. Right, Graham's saying about the BS honeybees polyhive that never really came to anything. Such a shame. That was a good hive, that one. Be interesting to know how many people got one. I got the first ever UK one, and I've still not put bees in it. So I'll be putting bees in that this year. But he's saying about the cork, saying, nice idea, looking forward to seeing how you get on. Such a shame that the BS honeybees polyhive had such a short production run. It's a great product. Any chance of someone else buying the molds and the rights of production and making them again? So absolutely zero chance of someone buying those molds, because I know Dan and Tristan will do everything they possibly can in order to get that mold working for them again. There's no chance they're going to sell it. But it's not looking good at the moment in terms of getting that one back online. And it's also looking a little bit worrying in terms of whether the BS honeybees and nukes are even going to be going after next year. So yeah, it's a slight concern, I think, of the whole polyhive market. Right, let's have a look. EJ saying, do you find any differences between winterizing in vertical or horizontal hives? Is one better than the other? I've done a video recently in terms of this as well. I don't know whether, but I do. I think the vertical format's better. Definitely think it's better, and I think without a shadow of a doubt, it's easier to manage because you know where the bees are going. They start at the bottom and they work to the top, and you don't have to worry about this left and right. But the horizontal ones look really nice. So this is good. This is like full promo for the membership, isn't it? So there's another competition coming out, upstairs, downstairs, Beehive competition. I might release that one tonight, but I'm fitting some hive entrances, which I'm sure people will have seen, some hive entrances. I'm going to run that. That's next to the cork hive. So that should be good fun. And then Jeremy saying, used them for 2 years, impossible for the wasps to get in. Used to watch them try it, and they come shooting out within seconds. So that was quite fun. Let's have a look at some of the other ones. So Naboo Shaman was saying, I look forward to seeing how this holds up. I reckon the frost will make it fall apart. I hope it doesn't, though. We're talking about the cork sheeting again. I've just got hold of 2-inch polystyrene sheet from under an old gym floor. I'm going to clad hives in that, plus some protective outer material. He thinks insulation is the way to go. More insulation means less condensation. So I hope that the cork sheet holds up as well. I would say the frost may be a little bit of an issue. It doesn't get too cold around here, but I am going to clad. I am going to clad the outside of it just to hold it all in, because then it will keep it going for a lot longer. Insulation is definitely the way to go. More insulation doesn't mean less insulation. More insulation doesn't mean less condensation, though. It just gives you the ability to track and direct where that condensation is going. So let's stick that on there. The whole basis is that you put more insulation at the top, so then the walls are less insulated, so the condensation forms on the walls, tracks down out of the hive, as opposed to forming on the roof and then trips on the cluster. So I'm just going through. I don't want to talk all about cork beehives. It shows how long since I've gone in here and answered any of these questions. These are all sitting here ready to go. Lot of comments on the live stream with Richard. People really enjoyed that live stream. Some of the numbers were absolutely mind-boggling. So on that day, I had 970 hours of watch time in a day. Which is quite remarkable. And in the last 4 weeks with that stream, there's been about 17,000 hours of watch time, which is 2 years of watch time in 4 weeks. So thanks to everyone who watches the videos, sits there and watches them all. Benjamin saying nothing is better than soft set heather honey, the true king honey. I like soft set heather honey. The blend is really, really nice. I do it half oilseed rape, half heather honey. It's really nice. Salem says, what do you sell 1 kilogram in your town for in Yemen? It costs $100. Wow. We do not sell it for $100. So we only sell ours in 8 ounce, which is like 1/4 of a kilo. So I can do it up. So probably, it's difficult. We do it for around like 6 quid, 7 quid, and then you pay for the delivery on top. So per kilo, that's probably like 30 quid a kilo, something like that. But the bulk price is like £3.50 a pound. So it's like £7.50 a kilo bulk price if you want to buy it in the bucket. So there's a good little business there. Come and buy some buckets and ship them over to Yemen. That's a good one. Little tip from Mike here. If you ever get stung and dealing with bees, recommend you to use lemongrass oil on the sting immediately, or grow a couple of periwinkle plants and keep them handy with you and break a leaf or 2 off and rub them into the sting. So nice little tip. Thanks very much. Barbara B says, loving the hairnet. Hoping to have a go at making some soft set honey after they got some oilseed rape honey. I was hoping that Bella were going to Bee Trade X so I could have a look at the creamers. Might have to take a trip up to see them. I don't know what's going on with Bee Trade X. Like it's on the website still saying that all these people are going and they're not going. I'm going to go. I've decided now I am going because I need to pick up a hive from Hives, and I'm going to get a concrete hive from someone who lives near there as well. One of the bee bunker concrete hives to do some, not to play around with, really, a bit of fun. So I'm going to go down. I don't think I'll be there very long though. I'll go sign up to the Dogs Trust. Stephen Akers says, hi Laurence, love your channel. Did you ever make a hot honey? If so, would you share the process? Keep up the great videos. So yeah, Hot Fire Honey. That's our kind of sister company. I can share the process. Yeah, it's just we use honey, obviously, Welsh grown Scotch bonnet powder, and then apple cider vinegar. And just kind of heat it up. You got to heat it up hot, so you have to take it up to 75 degrees C in the bottles. To eliminate the risk of salmonella in the pepper powder. This is what the company said to me. I thought it was a bit overkill, but you can't be too careful. Daniel Weston says there is always a reason for aggression on the bees, and I looked at that comment and thought, yeah, okay. The reason might be that the bees are just naturally really aggressive bees. The guy Richard, who's coming to help me this year to do the bees, he's away in Gambia at the moment, and he's taken some videos for me. So I might post some of them when he sends them over. And he was saying that like they're fully Africanized, obviously, in Gambia. And he said you can only ever get near them at night, pitch black with red lights, full suits on. And he said you've never seen anything like it. So I think we got it quite clever. Yeah. More people saying about the stream with Richard. I enjoyed that stream. Sentimental bloke, again, another person on here who comments quite a lot and clearly knows their stuff. It's great. I love this community. It's great because you get people who just know so much more than me. And they put you in your place. But he's saying, is there any research at all being done to find possible treatments for AFB? Or has everyone just put it in the too hard basket? I think it's just in the too hard basket, isn't it, at the moment? There must be some way of combating the spores or like neutralizing them or doing something. But it's quite a rare disease, really. It's not something that's that bad. Like I've never had it in any of my colonies. You speak to other people, it rarely crops its head up. EFB is the one where you get it a bit more, and it's not quite as severe. And I think people are breeding for bees to be a bit more resistant to EFB. And whether there could be any breeding against AFB, I don't know, but it does seem that it's been put in the too hard basket, which always comes down to, is there going to be something that they can sell at the end of it? And I don't think they have. Peter Gunn saying, glad you mentioned humane removal. I've been speaking to the admin guy from the UK Bee Removers Facebook group. I had a Zoom call with him the other day, and he was a really nice guy. So we're going to do maybe a couple of videos this year. We're trying to get in and do some bee removals with him, or he's just going to do them and I'm going to video them. But that should be quite fun. And he was telling me, about some of the ones that he's rescued over the past few years, and how the demand for people to actually go and want to get these colonies out humanely has grown. And then we were talking about some of the mortality rates and how many of them you get through, and he was saying it hovers around 60%, so it's quite difficult to get them out and keep them alive. But it's really interesting. I'm going to do more of that this year, along with all the other things that I say I'm going to do more of this year, and then get through to October and not realise where the year's gone. So on the checkerboard in Swarm video, Don Outland saying, having a full super of honey above the brood chamber looks wrong. That should go on the top of the hive or just get extracted. When the bees finish the honey dome, isn't that where to start the swarm prep? So yeah, that method, I know it looks backward, but the whole point is that you leave the honey super on over the winter, so you've got the ability to checkerboard in the spring. I just don't know if it's going to work. Like, I'm not going to say, oh, it's definitely going to work, because I have no idea. But they look all right. And even if they get to the end of the year and they don't swarm, I'm still going to be a bit like, was that the checkerboarding, or was it just good luck? Because not every colony swarms every year. But I do like having to play with different things. Adventure Solo says, can he spray paint a wooden pine hive too, or is it just poly hives? I spray paint a lot of my wooden hives, but what I do, if I'm spray painting wood, I'll put the primer on first. So spray paint primer, let that dry, and then spray paint over the top. Scott saying, hi Laurence, how did you get on with your bellow mating hive? You made a video a while ago about them. They're very expensive now, but at the same time they look good. So I sold them because I didn't have the time to be doing them back then, and I knew someone who wanted them. But they are very good. And looking at Richard's presentation last week, it's based on the same system, the mini plus frames, slight differences, but essentially the same. And then you've got the divider in there as well. So they were made really well, and it was nice that the frames were fully made and fully wired. Someone got a good deal because I sold them a lot cheaper than I bought them for. I should have probably kept hold of them the way that the prices have been going up. But no, I didn't use them, and then I've bought some different ones now to have a go this year, and I've just bought a pallet of BS honeybees, 6-frame nukes as well with the dividers. So I've got a fair amount to be rearing my queens this year, so that should be quite fun. Beekeeper's Guide for Pollen Identification says, hi Laurence, Mohammed El Laban. What are the minimum number of bee frames and bee brood in the colony of which you can apply the Demaree split? So I would say there was a comment and a bit of a discussion on the Facebook group the other day about when you can do the Demaree, and should you wait for them to swarm prep, or should you do it preemptively? And I said, I think do it preemptively, definitely. But you need them to be in a position where they're strong enough to be able to cope with it. So I would say in your box down below, it needs to be full. You need to have a full box of bees. Anything less, like we have like 10 or 11 frames in our boxes, and I wouldn't do it with anything less than 10 or 11 frames of bees, like a completely full brood box and bees, lots of bees in the supers, maybe 1 or 2 supers full, because you can get yourself in a little bit of a mess if you start doing it with not enough bees in there. Andy, I saw your video. I hope everything goes well with your son. Best of luck with it. Really sorry to hear that. Chester saying, hi Laurence, how do you encourage bees to go up in a foundationless honey super? That is a very good question. How do you encourage them to go up in a foundationless honey super? And what I would say is you need to get the timing right. But the trick that I would use is I would under super, as in I would put the super underneath the brood box. Because if you've got the brood box here and then you've got the foundationless super above, you've got kind of like maybe starter strips up there, and then you've got this void directly above where the bees are. And I speak from experience, it is very, very difficult to get them to go up past that kind of like 4 inches of nothingness to go to your starter strips. So I would take the super, the foundationless super with starter strips, and I would put it underneath the brood box and just let them naturally expand into it. and the queen will go in there and she will lay and get it all drawn out. And then once it's drawn out, you need to take that up, put it above the brood box, put a queen excluder in between the two, find the queen and put the queen underneath the queen excluder. And that is the foolproof way of doing it. You just keep on doing that all the way through the season. So every time you add a new one, add it to the brood box. The bees will just make use for it. And then you should be good to go. But once you've had the first one in, you can just under super without going underneath the brood box, if that makes sense. So you'll have your brood box, you get like that. Wow, here we go, you do it. Right, your brood box, your first super with honey in, and then you lift that one up, you can put it kind of underneath there. And then they don't mind a void once you've got bees working it above this one. Right, let's have a look at a few more of these comments in. Talking about killing honeybees. Dickie Mint saying probably one of the best bee videos he's ever seen. Thanks very much. That was the Demaree split. I like that video. I was absolutely gutted on that video because it took me so long to film it. It's a 35-minute video if you've not watched that one already. And it was filmed over maybe 10 visits. And then when I was putting it all together at the end, I've messed up the audio. And it's the kind of thing that you can't go back and film it. So I just had to try and repair the audio. And it was a bit naff. So all of that effort for nothing. But it's getting a lot of views now. It's a good video. He's just, he posed a similar question on Fred's site. I'm guessing that's Frederick Dunn. And he got the question, the answer that he needed. Sentex Prepper talking about should you kill honeybees. He's saying he agrees shouldn't kill them. He views highly defensive aggressive colonies as an opportunity. I've only been beekeeping for a little over 2 years, but living in an area with a good bit of Africanization is easy to pick up those genetics. I kind of want to say something there, but I'm not going to say it. I'll bite my tongue. I do see that, and what I would say firsthand is what is one of the most amazing things is having a really horrible aggressive colony and not enjoying your beekeeping, and finding the queen and killing her, which is never nice. I don't enjoy killing a queen, and then getting them to accept a nice new queen, and then seeing the transformation of that colony, and then going in the next year, and it's the next year when you open them up and you're just like, wow, it's just completely different colony. So it is good fun. And this is part of the reason I did this video, because it just drives me insane when I see people saying, I'm going to pour petrol all over my bees because they're really angry. And I just think, bloody hell, just spend 30 quid on a new queen as opposed to killing everything. Going into environment mode again now, aren't I? Right. Right, looking at a few more. There's absolutely tons of questions. Right, so on the checkerboarding video as well, Stephen Dawes saying, when is the queen excluder installed? So the guy who invented this technique, or at least wrote about it, doesn't use a queen excluder. So I'm not going to use a queen excluder. And I'm just going to follow his technique exactly as he does it. So it's not going in. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. Right. There was so many in there. Right, Alan saying you definitely do not talk too much. So I think I got a little bit of a complex last year with people saying that I talk too much about things, and I do. I look back at some of the videos and I get what they're coming from now. I tried to hone my presentation style a bit, but there was a lot of just blabbing. So I'm really, you will notice it, like the differences in the thumbnails, the differences in everything really, in trying to condense everything down. The one comment that I will never get back to, because I'll go mad, is when people say that I talk too fast, because I purposely talk fast to keep people engaged. So sorry if you can't understand it. I will try and slow it down a little bit, but you can't keep everyone happy. But on that note as well, like we lost the original intros. We lost, hi, I'm Laurence Anderson, Black Mountain Honey. Welcome to another episode of Known Beekeeping, which you do get to occasionally hear on the streams. And I'm cutting out the new intro as well. So that is going. Next video, that's gone. And then there's going to be no intro whatsoever. I'm just going to go straight in, trying to implement a few little tips and tricks. Salem saying, sounds like whistling. Is it a signal of a swarm? Is that whistling in my house now? And signal of a storm? Because it is whistling and stormy outside. But no, I've never heard kind of like audible signals for a hive that's going to swarm. This is one of the things when you learn about beekeeping and you get the experience, you know when a colony is going to swarm. Like they are so odd and act so differently, and you can just tell the way the colony's not really doing much, not got much purpose, is congested on a hot day when they shouldn't be congested. You open them up, you can see from the entrance. I think you really get to know quite quickly when a colony is not right and they're going to swarm. Right, let's have a look at some more. Wilvian, I think, talking about my insulation on the long hive video, saying, is it some special type of rock wool that you use? You seem to have both a yellow type and an orange type. Don't they cause you to become itchy when handling them? So no, I stole it out of my roof. Don't tell my wife. And it was just the same stuff. And yeah, it is a little bit itchy, but it does a really, really good job of keeping it nice and warm. Joe saying, say I want to make 5 splits this year, would it be more efficient to stick another brood box on after winter, waiting for it to fill up and then taking off the extra brood box and making 5 2-frame splits? I'll be doing a video on exactly this, which is the best method for getting maximum expansion from a single colony. And it does depend on your genetics, because there's no point kind of doubling up if they're just going to stick loads of honey in it. But I will go at least to a double brood, and then I'm contemplating going from a double brood and splitting the 2 boxes and then going double brood again, because I think that's a better way of building up the numbers of frames of brood and the number of bees that you need in order to make numerous splits. So this will be a video and a number of videos this year. But this is the plan: to take one big strong national brood box, put another brood box on the top, feed them so they fill it, so they're over 2 boxes between 20 and 22 frames of national deeps. And then the plan is to split those, do the same again. So you split them into 2 and then start feeding them again and put another brood box on each. So then you've got 2 colonies, both on double brood. So you should have between 40 and 44 frames, depending on the number of frames you've got in the boxes. And then at that point, I'm going to split them out, the whole colonies, break them up into 2 frames. So should get 20 nukes from each colony, double brood box colony. And then I'm going to try and build those up and feed them, keep on going. That's the plan. We'll see how we go. But I'll be adding mated queens to that. I won't be rearing my own. Jamie says, hi Laurence, do you have any advice or do's and don'ts of approaching a farmer or someone with land to host bees? So yeah, I did a video on this. So if you search for that, there is a video. But I will cover it again now. Phone calls coming through. The first one is use Google Earth. So David on the Apiarist did a really good post on this the other day. Google that as well. It's like top 1st or 2nd on the apiarist.org. So he's got loads of good tips. Go on Google Earth and identify where you want to put the bees. That's the first thing that you need to do. Don't kind of just meet someone who says, oh, I've got some land here, or I've got somewhere suitable for you. You go and identify it. So you look at access close to rivers, what the forage is like, out of sight from people, figure out all the things that you want in an apiary, and then go and identify the exact place where you want to keep bees. Preferably go and do a little bit of a recce on it as well, where you drive past it, see if it is actually suitable, and then go and find the landowner and approach them. And what I would just say is, go there in your car or in your truck with your bee suit on. It sounds a bit cheesy, but it works. With some honey, with a nice label on it, with a plan about what you're going to talk about, maybe with like a written letter, and like a real bullet point list of what you're willing to agree to. So maybe you're going to give him 1 jar of honey per year. These are you want unconditional access to the land. If you go there with all of those things, they'll realise that you're coming across seriously and you're not just like a chancer who wants to go and stick some bees on someone's land. But yeah, definitely find out where you want to keep bees first and then tell them where it is, because otherwise you'll just end up with some rubbish places. Joe saying, Exactly my thinking. Seems a lot easier than taking a few frames out of one box every so often to make splits. Yeah, that's the way I'm going to do it. JK Photography saying, I like getting stung. No, I definitely don't like getting stung, but I appreciate people like getting me, like watching me get stung. Joe saying, would you use pollen patties and syrup to fill the extra brew box faster for the splits, or are pollen patties a minefield? So what do you want to fill the frames with? You want to fill them with brood. You don't want to fill them with stores, because that's kind of defeating the point of doing it. So pollen patties do work, but for us in North Wales, we definitely don't need pollen patties because there's tons of available pollen that's there. You only really need it in a terrible year when the weather's bad and the bees can't get out. But you can. Do you know what? I'm going to start trapping more pollen. That's what I'm going to do, because I like to feed pollen back to the bees. I think it's better than feeding them pollen stuff. But thin syrup, feeding them thin syrup slower than they can store it is the best way for them to kind of turbocharge and get them going. That's what I'm going to do. Ollie's honeybee saying, I've just done this, approached people on the field till I found farmer's name and then had a chat, got 2 apiaries, just be friendly and honest. Good advice. Salem saying, if traditional hive boxes and he's willing to move to modern hives, you have no idea will it work or not. There's nothing wrong with traditional like wooden hives. I've got loads of them. You do get kind of like incremental benefit from polyhives, but there's other things that aren't quite as good. Joe's saying, how much honey payment do you tend to give to the landowners? I'm looking to set up my first apiary this year. So the standard amount is £1 of honey per hive per year. We've taken that to just be like 1 jar of honey. So we use like a smaller jar. But we give them extra. Like the landowners are great. It doesn't. When you've got a few colonies, we just give them wherever they want a bit of honey. We kind of sort them out with it, and some other products and like a little Christmas hamper, and keep your landowners happy. Got to be done. Well, I'm going to go back to comments on here then. So Brad saying, do you ever lose a colony? So when they would not break cluster and move over a frame where food is. So talking about isolation starvation. I would say in the UK it is very, very rare. But as long as you've got a big lump of fondant on the top, it's kind of not going to happen. I'd say a lot of people will confuse other issues in the hive with isolation starvation. That definitely happens because you get a colony, you get like a drone land queen, and it looks like the colony's dwindled to nothing. You've just got this little cluster of bees, dead bees, a little bit of brood, and there's loads of stores around them. And people say, oh, well, my bees died. There was loads of food left in the hive. It must have been isolation starvation. When it could have just been anything that killed them and they left loads of food. So in the UK, it's very, very rare. And sticking a big slab of fondant on the top, as long as they can get access to it, it's like, i.e. it's touching the frames, then it shouldn't really happen. Joe's saying, have you ever had a landowner get bees themselves after seeing bees on their land? No, never happened. I think like farmers have enough on. They do. So if you're approaching a farmer, like the guys around here, they've got like 500, 600, 700 acres of land, and they've got like 1,000 sheep or something. They've got enough on without having to worry about bees. So it's never happened. Not to say it wouldn't happen, but I've seen other people try and think that beekeeping is easy and invest quite a lot of money in it, and then realise that it's not quite as easy. This is the kind of comment that I do feel a bit bad about. So he's a Bangladeshi bee farmer. Can you be employed on my farm? I'd love to employ someone, especially someone who's like got experience bee farming. I've just not got the ability to manage someone coming in at the moment. So it's maybe next year. Let's have a look. Kenty's Kicks, who was here before, saying not surprised the angry bees with me going and opening the colony and putting a big slab of fondant on them. Yeah, you need to do it though. It's not easy changing it, but someone said, I think a comment on the other day saying, at what temperature would you go down? What temperature would you go down to put a slab of fondant on a hive? And I said, well, I'd go down to -20. like -30, whatever. Because if you go into your colony and you're lifting them up and you're saying they are dangerously light, they need to be fed fondant, I do not care what temperature it is, because it might take 3 weeks for the temperature to get within your ideal range, and then by that time they're dead. So bees are amazing at bringing the heat back up there. Just pop the lid, open it up, 10 seconds, big slab of fondant on, close it back up again. And I reckon if you put a thermometer in the hive, they would have lost a couple of degrees, and they'll soon build it back up again. And in the UK, like it just doesn't get very cold, does it? I don't think there's been a single ground frost where I live at the moment, which is like it's kind of like isolated a bit, but it is like quite rural. But yeah, no major frost at all, which is strange. So Kate's talking about wish they did eeks for their Langstruth, the Payne's polynukes. It's crazy in the UK how they've got so many different variations of nukes and different feeders, and everything doesn't connect together. But yeah, I don't like the side feeder in the Payne's polynukes. And a couple of people have asked me this already. They said, you don't like the Payne's nukes, but why do you send out all of your nukes in Payne's nukes? And the simple answer is that they're a lot more secure to send them in the post. So with the other ones, you have to, the only way to really secure the other one down properly is by removing the feeder. Removing the feeder, putting on a ventilated screen, and then screwing down all the 4 corners. That's the only way you can get it secure. So then I end up having to buy feeders every year, because I'm buying feeders that I don't need. And none of the nuke companies sell the modular nukes without the feeders, because I've asked them, and they said, no, it's all done on the same mold. Whereas Payne's, because it's built in, you just get a single ventilated roof, and then you can screw it down. So it is the most secure way to send them. And they're fine, like they're absolutely fine as soon as you get a little bit of insulation on them. Okay. Let's look at some other questions. Oh, Graham saying, here we go. Oh, Salem saying you're the best honey keeper in YouTube. Thanks very much. I don't know if that's true, but I appreciate your comment. Thank you. It's very kind. Ollie's saying Ollie's honey is rich as honeybees. Can you get your honey tested to find out where they get the nectar from? So sign up to the National Honey Monitoring Scheme. Depending on how many people you've got in your area, they do it for free. They do it maybe once or twice a year, but generally you get one. And what they do is they give you like a pollen rating. So you send some honey off to them, and then they'll analyze all of your pollen. They'll send you back all of the pollen that's within your honey sample. You need to take it with a bit of a pinch of salt though, because sometimes you get stuff like rose pollen in there, which clearly the bees are foraging on rose. But it gives you, and the reason is that you get like cross contamination. So you might get like a bumblebee on a rose that then goes to some clover, then the bee goes to the clover and picks up the rose pollen. But it gives you a rough breakdown of what your bees are foraging on, and the percentages as well. So the last time we had it done, I think we had 72 different pollens in ours, and I ticked a few of them off saying there's no way that's real. But it was loads. This is one thing that North Wales is very, very good for. You get huge diversity in what's available because you've just got big swathes of wild areas. And then it gives you a very unique honey, so no jar of honey is the same. But yeah, sign up to it. It is free. It's really good. Graham saying, didn't realise you were live streaming. Today is the 18th, not the 17th. Don't know if someone has already said. I'll put that on the live stream. You're right, it is the 18th. You would have missed it if you had looked at that. What is the poly problem at BS Honeybees? So he did a big article in the Bee Farmer magazine, but I speak to Dan a fair bit about this. I did last year as well when I was talking to him. And the company that make that the actual hive has just liquidated. They've gone. So they spent all of this money doing it, getting the molds, and now there's no company to do it. And they've searched high and low to get a company to take it on, and just no one's willing to mold and produce that polyhive anymore. So they've got the mold, but they can't do anything with it. And then they've had to spend a lot of money refurbishing the nucleus molds as well. And I think they get the feeling that they're going to pull the plug. And if they pull the plug on it, that's not just BS honeybees that won't do it. You're talking BS honeybees, Pains, Maysmore, they all use this same factory. I suspect that won't happen. And what will happen is the cost will just keep on going up like it has this year. I can't get over how expensive polyneuts are at the moment. Really, really expensive. Not good. Salem saying, if I know any way to send you human honey, I will do it for you as a humble gift. I would love that. That'd be very nice, thank you. It's expensive though, $100 a kilo. Just have to do me like a little hotel portion, a little 10 grammer. Have I ever watched Cayman Reynolds on YouTube or know of him? He seems very knowledgeable. Yeah, I've watched his things. I've reached out to him a number of times, said about doing a collaboration. He just completely ignores me. So I've not got enough subscribers for Cayman to take any notice of me yet. He needs to be on Ian Stepler's level to get Cayman to notice. But yeah, great beekeeper, very, very good beekeeper, and knows what he's doing. And do you know what I love? I love his picking the ukulele or whatever it was. Absolutely love that video. Joe's saying, any idea why there isn't more British Manuka honey? So far, I've only seen Tregothnan estate producing it, but it grows well in temperate climates like ours. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it's madness, isn't it? It must take like quite a long time to produce it. But yeah, that is raking it in. You'd think someone with land, like in bloody Wales, where it's just sheep and land is cheap, you'd get some Manuka trees in and give it a go. I guess the problem is that you need to ensure that it's just solely Manuka. So you need kind of like 27 square miles of land to say, right, this is Manuka honey. You couldn't just do it on like 20 acres because then the bees will just fly off and get some dandelions. But yeah, I don't know why they don't do it. Graham saying, at least they have the mold. Yeah, they need the factory. That's the problem. You've just got a complete monopoly on it, but they're all made in the same factory. Mark saying, do beehives and dogs mix in the garden? Probably not. I always say to people, don't keep these in your garden. I know loads of you will keep these in your garden, but I just say, if you can get them out of the garden, get them out of the garden. It's just not. It's not worth it. I remember when I had bees in the garden up here, and I had 4 hives up there, and I used to be quite blasé about it. And Jasper came up one day. You've all met Jasper, and he got stung really badly. And he ran the full length of the garden, in through the house, the full length of the house, upstairs into the bedroom, into his crate, like his safe place. And he was just whimpering, really crying. I felt so bad. And every single time I come back from doing the bees now, he's like all over me, like sniffing me, like trying to clean me. So he's offended him. He doesn't like bees. And I've got bees just out there. You can't see them, just out there. And you can climb out the window to get on the roof. So that's what I often do, go and take like videos of them. And every time I open the door, I'll go and show you. I'll open the window and I'll show you what he does. Hopefully you heard that. He's like, so he doesn't like it. Dry Cut Homestead, you recommended me to Cayman in his Hive Life poll. Maybe he would check you out. Thank you very much. That would be good. I want to go to a Hive Life conference just to have fun. It looks so much better than bee trade eggs. It's really bad to say that, but like a proper show. Fastest way to get drawn comb, keep it from the year before. Definitely the fastest way, but to feed your bees 1-to-1 sugar syrup. Just keep on feeding them. You get your drawn comb. Joe's saying, when making a split, is it best to purchase a mated queen or allow them to make your own? I would say to everyone, it's best to learn how to graft your own queens. So if you had like a, I don't know how to say it. You say when things are in order like that, I would say number 1, learn how to graft, and then get like a proper grafted mated queen yourself. Number 2, buy a mated queen. Number 3, let them create a cell, like an emergency cell. That's my order. JK saying he's trying both. Yeah, just have a go. It's all good fun. Joe saying, how early would the Yolantas be distributed? So I'm well and truly at the mercy of Murray McGregor for that. But last year, I think it was like first or second week of June. I wouldn't let that put you off. I think you've ordered already. But it's at that time of the year, if you get them in, you can still target all the summer flows kind of with the good genetics. But what I always say to people is if you're requeening, do them in September, even into October. Requeen them that late in the year with a late season mating queen, and not only will your overwintering numbers be dramatically improved, but also the next year you'll just the amount of honey you get from a late mated season queen the following year is significantly more, and it reduces the swarming impulse as well. And it means you don't have to fight with everyone else in April for trying to get the early imported queens, because there's massive demand for people to make splits there. So you kind of spread the demand out a little bit. It's a lot easier. Right, back to these comments then. Let's find some of the ones I was going to answer. Andrew's saying about the Payne's polynukes, and he was saying that he's got the miller feeder on top to provide extra insulation, which I think is a really good idea. By taking out the clear plastic bridge in the middle, the bees have access to the feed chambers. Takeaway tray of fondant on one side and half of the protein patty on the other side. Saying wild comb may become an issue, but I think the benefit is worth it. So the only issue that you've got with doing that is that if it gets cold, if it gets like really, really cold, and they're struggling for stores down in the box, they won't go up there to get it. But it is the UK, so I don't think that's going to happen. I've done something similar to that previously. But in Manukas, where you do need to be careful, like feeding them too much can be counterproductive, because they just get to a point where they're just like saturated with feed. Also, feeding pollen can be, like pollen patties can be bad if they've not got the weather in order to process it. So it gives them, they need to go out more to go to the toilet. And if they can't get out, then you can start getting dysentery in the hive, and then diseases can spread. Again, not too much of an issue in the UK, but there's nowhere the bees are going to be flying at the moment with all the wind. So if you started feeding early Feb, you could be a little bit of an issue now. Oh, JK Photography, you're very generous with your super stickers. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Graham saying, I thought Manuka was a New Zealand appellation, a bit like Bordeaux. We can't make Parmigiano Reggiano, Italian cheese either. Just like can only make bubbly and champagne style. That may well be the case, actually. I don't think they could do that on a plant to be like Manuka honey is ours. What they could do is called like New Zealand Manuka honey, because I know they had the big Griff did it, didn't he? The video about Australia coming into the Manuka honey, so you can get Australian Manuka honey now. And I guess that applies across the world. But I know that what they could do is they could put that legislation or that certification, whatever it is, on New Zealand Manuka honey. We're doing something similar in Wales. So they're looking at doing a Welsh wildflower honey, doing a Welsh heather honey. I think Scotland are doing a Scottish heather honey as well. Times for Welsh Manuka then, yeah. But more than that, Welsh heather, like, I know, again, this was controversial, but when I said, like, what's the best honey in the world, it's Welsh heather honey. Like, I said it tongue in cheek because it was just a joke to try and get people to click the video, and it wound a few people up. But I don't like Manuka honey. Like, I bought it and tasted it and kind of thought, it's all right. It's not even that it's all right. Like, I don't particularly like the taste of it. I find it a bit bitter and a bit off tasting. But what the New Zealand government are good at, and it is driven by the New Zealand government, this is that they're just the masters in marketing. Like, they've turned that product into just a world leader for people making themselves like feel better about themselves, and got all of these health benefits. Can you imagine trying to do that in the UK? They have training standards all over you saying, oh, you can't say this, you can't say that. And you need to be careful with what you claim. You need to be able to prove it. But like, you look at the Manuka honey here. What was the first thing that they measured themselves by? Manuka honey was the unique Manuka factor. And it's like, well, we don't really give many other honeys much of a chance to compete, do you? When like you're rating it on the unique Manuka factor. So I was thinking we could do like a unique Welsh factor, and then no one else can buy it. But I say all of this, and I'm massively jealous. Is all it is. Like if you're from New Zealand, don't take offence to that. My granddad was from New Zealand, so I am quarter Kiwi. So I like to think so. I've got a black cap on, black caps. But yeah, I am jealous. I wish I could supply Manuka honey from my bees. It'd be great. Right, Joe saying, has anyone at your work or in your family been inspired by you to get bees? So no. So at work, I don't talk about it. It's a weird thing. Like I don't talk about bees at work. Full stop. And I'd say 99% of people at work don't even know that I keep bees. Like, no interest whatsoever. And my family know. They've had enough of me talking about bees. But my wife's just constantly like, just stop talking about bees, you absolute lunatic. So, and then I just like, okay. So then I'll talk about food or something else. But yeah, no, none of them have been inspired. Danny C saying, oh yes, the Italians made us change our Prosecco wine because their Prosecco was a similar name. Yeah, it's all in the marketing, isn't it? Graham saying there's a lot of difference between the Manuka content, percentage concentration. There is, but it's all kind of marketing hoodoo, isn't it? You can test whatever you want. Like I could come up with a unique Welsh factor and test for it and say, right, mine is more unique Welsh than yours because it's got more of, I don't know, some wildflower or something. So mine's more of a unique Welsh factor than yours. Where in reality, it doesn't make a difference. And they did test, didn't they? They did like a really big worldwide study showing like the top grade Manuka with the top concentration of all of the different things that they were testing for, and then tested it against other different honeys from around the world. And one of the ones they used was heather honey. So I think it was Scottish heather honey, actually. And they showed that Scottish heather honey either competed on a level playing field with Manuka on a lot of the categories, and then in some of them it far exceeded it. And one of them was like the level of manganese. So we've got all these different things, and are we just missing a trick? We're missing a trick because Manuka honey heather honey is incredible, and like it tastes so unique, and it will just have worldwide appeal. Easily a contender against Manuka honey, but we're just not good at that as a nation, like blowing our own trumpet and trying to sell something for the collective good of everyone. So Joe's saying the stuff at Treguthman is marketed as British Manuka honey, not Manuka honey. The New Zealand is eligible for official certifications than anywhere else, but yeah. But that's exactly it. Yeah. So they won't let you do these tests on it. You try getting your honey because it's unique. It's the UMF unique Manuka factor, and then they do another one that shows kind of like the activity, don't they? Try getting your honey tested for that outside of New Zealand, and they're like, no, you have to be part of the New Zealand group in order to do that. So it is great marketing. I'm so jealous. So Joe's saying, would you say heather honey is our version of Manuka? I'd say it's the closest in that it's so unique. And when they did the tests, kind of the activity levels, the antibacterial, antimicrobial levels were very, very strong in heather honey. And that's heather honey across the UK, but particularly Ling heather honey. Dry cut homestead. Have you got a job outside of beekeeping? How are you able to produce so much content? So yeah, I got a full-time job in construction. Luckily, we finish at about 1 on a Friday. So I normally squeeze like all of my beekeeping into a Friday. I do from like 1 to about 10 at night because you get late days in the summer. But then also like the videos. People, I don't know. I speak to people and they say, how do you produce so many videos? You do like 1 a day. And I say, it doesn't take me that long. Like I did the last time I filmed, it took me about maybe 2 hours. And I think I filmed like 13 videos. And then I just like play around in the evenings, editing them. So I get quite a lot done in a day. They're not very good, the videos, but it's quite a lot of them. Joe saying, has the wild thought of setting up a bee farm in New Zealand ever crossed your mind? Do you know any bee farmers that have gone there to produce Manuka? Now that is a very interesting point, and you need to get outside of my brain, please, Joe, because my uncle retired from work when he was 30. Yeah, he retired when he was 30, like proper retired, never went back. He used to work in the city of London, and nobody knew what he ever did. Nobody knew, so he's probably some sort of criminal. But it wasn't. He wore nice suits. He went in every day, and he worked in the city of London and earned a lot of money. And so he retired when he was 30 and lived in the UK for quite a while. And then he moved to Patagonia. He lived in Patagonia for like 15 years. And then when the COVID kicked off in Patagonia, he wanted to get out because he didn't want to get stuck there. I've got loads of family in New Zealand, so he's moved to New Zealand. So he's sitting there at the moment in New Zealand. Like, I've just been nudging him, saying, "Do you want to just kind of like go and speak to some bee farmers and put in a good word for me and set up, like, I don't know, some sort of relationship?" But he's not. No, he's not doing it. Like I say, he's 72 now. So he retired 42 years ago. So he just wants to chill out and drink wine and eat nice steak. Right, back to bees. Right, Joe, how do you tell the difference between a swarm and a supersedure cell? Have you done a video on this? So yeah, I've done a video on this, and the cells are identical. So there's no difference whatsoever in the cells. It's the number of the cells. So if you've got a colony and there is a single, this is my rule now, if there is one cell in the whole colony on all of the frames, it's definitely a supersedure cell, one single cell. I say anything above that, you don't know. Like, you can't be clear. So if it's two cells, they might be swarming, and it's just kind of like a weak colony. You might get two supersedure cells. If you're going into the 3s and 4s and 5s, they're definitely swarming. Treat them as swarming. That's what I would say. Pink It's Honey saying, hi, I love the Q&A. No problem. I enjoy it as well. I come on every time to go through some comments, and I never get through them. So this is an easy way of doing it. If people want to ask questions, stick a comment on there saying you're going to ask it in the next live one, and I will hang around until my daughter comes back. But you know what? The weather outside there is no issue up here whatsoever. So we missed the storm so far for today. I'm well happy with that. Where's my ex? So southeast London originally, not Wales. Graham saying he understands they drop hives in and out by helicopter to get Manuka honey. Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? Be a good YouTube video. Dry Cut Homestead saying he's in construction as well. We work like 60 hours a week, probably not healthy. I tell you what, the US work way more hours than we do in the UK. It is bonkers the hours that you guys work out there. So like I'm on a 42 hour a week contract, and a lot of other people around here are like 37.5 hours. A lot of public sector people are on like 36.25, seems to be like a standard working week. And I get like 6 weeks a year annual leave, which is pretty good. 6 weeks a year plus your bank holidays and stuff. In America, it's like 60 hours a week and you get like a week off. That's it. So if I got that completely wrong and that's just a stereotype, let me know. I could not believe the differences in how long your working week was and how many days leave you got. No. Audrey Larkin's Ver Life. I do not know what that comment means, and I see it come up. I think it's just, I think it might be spam. It comes up on all of my videos. Joe Jackson say, do you use quilt boxes? What are your thoughts on them? So when I first started beekeeping, when I moved here, I had some quilt boxes and I made them up like an eek and then put some mesh on it, and I put like wood chips in with the vents going out the side because I saw it on YouTube and there wasn't really much UK YouTube content. And then since then, I've moved over to just insulating, so heavy top insulation, open mesh floor underneath, and then not so insulated walls. And that's what I do now. But that's what it's like for me. That's just what it's like for me over here. The US is very, very different. And I was chatting with someone about this the other day. I think Pete was talking about it on the No Nonsense Beekeeping Facebook group, about the differences between kind of like the climate that we've got over here and the climate in, say, Canada. Northern Canada, where it's incredibly cold up there, but it's very, very dry. And then over here, it's kind of like relatively mild but very, very wet, and you need different approaches to manage your bees there. So I would never call myself an expert anyway, but I'm used to kind of UK conditions. I don't know about US conditions or northern Canada or anywhere else like that. So I've tried them. My bees all survived the winter in them, but that's kind of as far as I'd go. Time is honey. These chats are the adult version of Saturday morning cartoons. I'm sitting here with my pancake and eggs, loving every moment of this, even though it's Friday night. I'm glad you like it. You can come onto the chat if you want. Let me just send you a link. You can come and say hello. If you do, let me know. I'll send you a link now. Send me your email. Claire saying, I'm getting bees for the first time this year, currently doing the beginner's course. I feel uncomfortable getting a clipped queen. Can a beginner manage an unclipped queen? So my words out. I understand why you're uncomfortable with clipping a queen. All I would say is, from someone who didn't clip queens for like 6 years and then moved over to clipping all of my queens, the management of the colonies is so much easier. It really, really is. And as I was saying before, you get so used to recognizing when a colony is going to swarm when you do get experience. But when you don't have that experience, like if you inspect all of your colonies and you miss this one tiny beginning of a swarm cell, and then you go back 7 days later, your bees will be gone. Half your bees will be gone with the queen. If you clip the queen, you'll go back 7 days later and the queen probably won't be gone. You'll look into the colony and you'll see like 50 swarm cells. And you'll be like, oh my God, there's 50 swarm cells. I need to do something. But all of your bees will still be there. So I see it as an excellent insurance policy. And I would recommend everyone to clip their queens. However, I appreciate some people don't like to clip queens. But yeah, you know it goes. Good luck with your bees. Time is honey saying, yeah, when you're paid a salary, the company kind of owns you. You do. Then there's the healthcare costs taken out of your checks. Yeah, we get that over here, you know, with kind of like national insurance, and that's going to be a killer come April. Video, like an extra $2,000 a year coming out this year. I can't wait to get to Rich's comment there. Joe saying, cheers for the advice as always. Not going to lie, I see a New Zealand bee farm forming part of the Black Mountain Honey Bee Empire in the future. I don't know about that. It would be good though, wouldn't it? I think that what could happen is, and this is on the Brexit beekeeping video, is that I form some sort of alliance with a New Zealand bee farmer to import New Zealand queens. Not that would go down very well, but we'll see. So Rich saying, do you do any DJing in the local pub, DJ Rex? You know about my past. This is really disturbing. How do you know that? You need to message me how you know that before I answer it any further. Right, Danny C. In Yugoslavia, we worked from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now in Croatia, we work from 9 to 5, 6, 7. That's strange. I didn't think it would be that bad in Croatia. I don't know why I thought that. But yeah, the working week is changing though. It really is changing. Like construction is early start, so like 7 a.m. start. And then we work on like a 4-day, so you do 4 long days and then 1 kind of half day. It's still a 42-hour week. But then when you're in a position like managing people, like leading, you're kind of always there. You're always getting emails, you're always getting calls, so you never really switch off. Right, I'm gonna invite someone. Okay. Right, I've posted it in there. I can vet people coming in, but if anyone wants to come in, feel free. If you've got a decent connection. Expecting Time is Honey to come in and come and say hi. Let's have a chat. Graham saying, I've recently seen stuff about people keeping bees in a natural dead tree hollow. Some are carved, very creative. The bees were exiting the hive trough through the carving mouth. Yeah, I've seen that. It's cool. So Rich, can I clip the 2 loops for you, please? Do you know what? I can't. I'm really sorry. It becomes so difficult tracking what's what. Oh, his time is hanging out. Right, you go back to this one. There we go.
Morning, Laurence. How you doing today, man? Good morning from Texas.
How you doing? There we go. This is amazing. That was so quick.
Awesome. Good morning.
So how many bees do you keep?
I'm just starting. This is my first year. I took a class out of Michigan State called Hives to Heroes or Heroes to Hives. It was just a basic education. I didn't know anything about bees. My family had kept them for a little bit. I killed a lot of bees as a pest control tech. And it killed me every time I did it because I killed a lot of wild hives, man, in California growing up. Probably for about 2 years, I was out killing bees, man. I didn't feel good about any one of it. After I got out of the military, I'd been wanting to keep bees for some time, actually. And I was laying in bed one night late, and an email came in and said, hey, there's a new beekeeping class for veterans that want to get tied up in beekeeping. I was like, yes, right here, please. Signed up right away, got enrolled, and took the class all last year. Our mentor named Adam, he was our teacher, and he's an entomologist out of Michigan State, mind you. He's like, don't buy your bees yet. Let us teach you first, because you're going to kill your bees. He promised us, like, you guys go into this not knowing anything, you're going to kill your bees. And I didn't want to be that guy, man. I wanted to take care of them, because I was listening to somebody talk the other night, and to maintain pest a super organism like that, it's kind of a humbling experience.
Yeah.
No doubt. So I'm going to push for 16 colonies. That's what I'm going to push for in my yard. And then from there, I have some other people out here interested in wanting to get tax exemptions on their property. So I'm working with them as well. So I'm first year. I'm going to trap all my bees. I got swarm traps set up here on my yard, and they're all showing promising signs. I'm just going to wait to be
swarm traps.
Just a 5-gallon bucket, waxed inside with some lemongrass scent, poked holes. Yep, I got one I hoisted up in a tree yesterday, about 20 feet up. See what that one does. But
and when do you start getting like swarms coming through in Texas?
Right now, the weather's real kind of, as you guys have seen it too, all over the world, man. The weather's real touchy right now. I'm gonna have 85-degree days. Let's see, I'll tell you. I'll be having 84 and 85. This is Fahrenheit. Monday and Tuesday next week, right? Then it's going to drop back down into the 60s and 50s the fall that week, right? But the night difference is the nighttime temperature difference. Let's see, next Friday, it's going to be 52 in the day, but 24 at night. That's a big drop in temperature, man. You're talking, that's a 30-degree drop. That's going to push the bees in the cluster, and they're not going to break until, those bees aren't going to break until probably 3 days, because we're going to have 3 nights where it's going to be below 30 degrees.
It's good fun. So have you got any questions you want to ask me then? Because this is quite a good one in terms of like you're a beginner, you've not got much experience with bees. Like what are you worried about for the season?
Well, I have a good mentor here in Texas that I met. I was actually flagged down in a parking lot at a grocery store because I was wearing my channel shirt. This guy's like, hey, my neighbor has all kinds of beekeeping stuff. Nice. He's a beekeeper, been doing it for 40 plus years. Let me get you in contact with him. I told the guy my story, and he's like, yeah, let me get you in contact with him. And at the time, mind you, Laurence, I was looking for a mentor, because I was like, I need somebody here that knows the climate, knows the bees. So him being here, that's been a real big help, because I talk to him 3-4 times a week, and we bounce a lot of ideas off each other, because he's been doing it 40 plus years, but he's still learning new stuff online too.
It's great. It's great that you've got someone to dedicate so much kind of time to you. You don't often see that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back to this format here, so you can jump. You stay on. It's cool. And I'm just going to answer questions. So feel free just to kind of chip in.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I think it's Honey has asked, would you remove the internal insulation during the summer? I'm talking about like the cork insulation. So no. So I've always said insulation is good, like all the way through the year.
Seeing here in Texas, it gets hot, it gets hot down here in Texas. Yeah. So cork insulation in the summer, like we're going to have our entrances wide open here in the Texas in the summer, let the bees fan it out.
Do you know, it's interesting though. I don't want to start an argument with someone this week, but I kind of had an argument with someone this week about this, which was, he was saying that like polyhives and insulated hives, when it gets really hot, he was saying it just melts the hives. And I was saying to him, well, it kind of works both ways, doesn't it? You've got like a mass of bees, and the inside of the colony, they're trying to keep it at a certain temperature. And then if it's insulated and you've got the heat coming in, the insulation is actually stopping that heat coming in and reducing the rate that the temperature is going to build up. So then it's less work for the bees to go out, collect water, to fan the entrances down to keep it cool. And it's the same way that you get like a house. You kind of, a fully well insulated house uses a lot less energy in the air conditioning to keep it cool.
Definitely.
But he didn't want to know any of that. But it's similar to what you're saying there. Like, I don't have experience of 45-degree heat, so I don't know what it's like. I speak to someone in Australia, and I looked at a link on Australia, and they were saying a lot of them are moving over to like insulated polyhives in like Australia and in hot places, because it gives the bees, it means that they can spend more time foraging for honey as opposed to going and foraging for water to keep the colony cool. But you don't see many people in Texas with polyhives, do you?
No, because that's the thing, in the Texas, some days it gets 110 degrees here. That's hot. We're not going to, a lot of people out here are using standard lang straw, if it gets cold. But what I've learned is, the cold is kind of essential too to the health of the hive. It kills a lot of the pests off, mites, beetles. It's going to help prevent a lot of the hive-borne pests that you're going to experience. So I'm going to take the cold as it comes, the hot with the cold, and I'm learning a lot from everybody here, man. And that's what's so great about it. I'm first year. Again, I don't know anything about this, man. I'm going in it to, kind of blindish, but, learning from you guys, everybody all over the world, it's been probably one of the best experiences the last couple of years, because I took Hives to Heroes all last year. And in that time, I was picking up on all your guys' channels, taking notes, watching videos, meeting people on the flip side, and just starting to network. And I've learned a lot, and now I'm ready to apply it. I'm just waiting on the bees to show up here in Texas.
And what I always say to people is, like, you just need to learn what works for you. Like,
100%.
Keeping bees in North Wales is so different from keeping bees in southern England, and it's about 150 miles away. So if you're, like I said, 5,000 miles away, it's the same again, isn't it?
Yeah, like I said, it's crispy here in Texas. It is right now. Everything outside is brown and dry. Some of the cedars and some of the oaks have some flowers and a little bit of pollen on them, but the bees are starving down here right now. They're hungry. We're waiting for that first rain to hit. We're waiting for that first night where there's that 15 to 20 degree difference, and it holds for a couple of weeks. Then we'll start seeing more of that activity down here, but not just yet. Everybody is on like a knife's edge right now, waiting for the bees to pop, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I think everyone's like that over here as well. Graham saying the non-insulated, non-poly disbelievers in the UK often say that polyhives sweat too much. And my simple answer to that is that a colony of bees will produce X amount of condensation, regardless of whether they're in a wooden hive or a polyhive. It shows up a lot more in a polyhive, and in a wooden hive, it just absorbs into the wood. But it is more important in making sure that you do have the top surface insulated more than the walls, because you can do it really bad if you insulate the walls heavy and then don't have that insulation on top, and you have that cold surface. You just get dripping on the cluster, and then if you get cold weather coupled with a lot of moisture above the cluster, you do get a lot of issues.
And you guys, Laurence,
some more of these questions. So go on, say again.
You probably deal with a lot of moisture issues where you're from. You're in UK, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. See, we deal with moisture issues too, but I'm guessing not as much as you guys do. We still get coastal fog. We'll get 70, 80% some days. So
I think we just get kind of like 100% every day in North.
All the time, yeah.
It's just miserable.
Seeing in the summer too, where I live, we have microclimates because I live in kind of hilly area of Texas.
Yeah.
We get weather systems that drop down into our area, and they'll just linger around. So different humidity, temperatures, everything happens here.
Yeah. Danny C's here saying he always has the argument with people that say they can't use formic acid, and saying that the bees keep the temperature within the hive at over 30 degrees. It's a good point, that, because it does say on the kind of Formic Pro and the Max that you can't use it in hot temperatures above 25 degrees C. I've had issues with Max, and I won't use it as a treatment of choice anymore. But I still use it. Like, it's definitely got a place. It's the only thing you can really use when the supers are on in the UK. But I think it comes down a bit more back to the age of the queens as well. Max and formic acid will kill old queens, definitely.
I was in a really good chat last night about oxalic acid use. What's your regulation like there in the UK? How's your government on regulation there?
Full stop, can't use oxalic acid.
Really?
Yeah, full stop. You can use a product called apibioxal, which is about 80% pure oxalic acid mixed with 20% crap, which is just like glucose and sugar. And it's just in there so a company can sell it and regulate it. You're allowed to vape once per year using apibioxal, and you can't vape when the supers are on. That's the legislation, and it is.
Wow.
I'm so jealous of the USA being able to just constantly vape, do like 10 shots of oxalic acid throughout with all the supers on.
A year, yeah.
Doesn't taint the honey, no problem with it whatsoever. It costs peanuts. The bees end up being a lot more healthier because we're killing all the mites all the time, and we can't do it.
So full stop, okay. Man. See, what we were talking about, these guys were talking about, this is a doctor from Florida State, I believe, was trying to get regulators here in America more involved with getting like mite control, getting mites under control. But they're also talking about, that resistant that mites could possibly build up to new forms of control. Yeah,
so I think in terms of like chemical levels of control, like amitraz, and I saw Cayman was talking about this as well. They do build up resistance, and they can build up resistance to it, and we've seen it with pyrethroids that they built up a big resistance to, and people are seeing resistance to amitraz. Whereas oxalic acid, like it'd be very difficult for them to build up a resistance to it because it's like a mechanical. They just can't really do it. It's a mechanical breaking down of their exoskeleton.
Shuts them down.
Yeah. That's why it's so effective, but you never know. You never know what's going to be.
And it makes you wonder how the mite has evolved. How has the mite evolved to treatment over the last 60, 70 years that we've known about it?
Yeah.
What evolution has the mite taken that maybe we haven't really noticed yet? You're talking, generations of evolution there that could have happened.
Yeah, it certainly could. Right, I'm gonna answer a few more questions. I always want to answer a question like this. I sometimes do get slipping in Google Translate. I have no time to do that at the moment. What are you like with getting stung? I did this video on getting stung. Have you been stung much?
I got stung yesterday.
Do you get much of a reaction? You love it?
Yeah, I welt up a little bit. I got stung right here, kind of on the arm yesterday, and it welted up a little bit.
You see it a bit red,
I got stung on the back of the neck a couple of weeks ago. Part of the deal, man.
What do you use as your suit? Like a full suit?
What's that?
What do you use for protection? You got like a full suit?
Yeah, I'm gonna full suit up here because we have Africanized. And my mentor, he won't let me in his yard if I don't full suit. He told me, he's like, I don't want to see you in your yard really without a full suit. So I'm taking his full advice and gonna listen to him.
So how come Texas Bee Works can go and do it with their hair down?
I don't know. That's them. That's not gonna be me. I'm not gonna be that guy that's like gonna get stung 100 times and end up in the hospital.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that in a challenging way. I'm saying it is in like.
I get you.
How they can go and do it. It seems.
And I get it. Some people are comfortable like that. I'm not that comfortable.
No.
Do you 100%? Do how you're gonna do your bees. I'm not gonna be out in my yard unsuited. There's no way because we have Africanized bees here, and my mentor already told me. He's like, you get into Africanized colony, it's gonna ruin your day. I promise you.
Oh, definitely.
Then he's like,
I wear like a fully protective, nearly 400-pound bee suit to make sure I don't get stung. So I'm in the same camp. I think it's good to wear protection.
You take 30 or 40 stings. That's a possible ER visit.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know what kind of reaction you're going to get. My arm welted up after one sting. If I got stung 40, 50 times, I'm probably going to take a trip to the hospital. So I'm not going to risk that. That's just me.
No. I've got a question here from Walker Bee Ranch, your mate, which he says, can you place empty foundation in the 2 boxes above the bottom box, or should it already be drawn out? So he's talking here about the checkerboarding one that I did. So I asked these questions to the person who put together this method. saying, surely you just stick empty boxes on and it does the same job. And he categorically said, no, it's all about the interchangeable nature of having a frame of stores and then a frame of foundation. And at the moment, it's all just complete theory. I don't know whether it's going to work, but you can.
It's a good friend of mine, Walker Bee Ranch. I was on the phone with him earlier.
Look, your comments there. Good man.
Yeah, man, that was really cool. I like that. That video is awesome, man. No doubt.
It was cool. So you love your YouTube. You're gonna start a YouTube channel, aren't you?
I already have one going. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when I click on it there, how many videos have you got on it? So we'll look at it.
Probably about 10 or 12, maybe. I think I just put one up the other day.
There you go. Subscribe.
Nice, right on. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Everyone on here, subscribe to the channel as well. I love supporting like smaller channels and watching them.
And I'm really I'm gearing my channel towards a lot of veterans because the class I took was it was a veteran-based class for their veterans and family members.
Yeah.
Basically, veterans with mental health issues, veterans trying to reintegrate, find some way to become more involved with family life. You know, they put a lot of aspects surrounding the class, you know, not just to be beekeepers, but to be great beekeepers, you know.
Yeah.
And our instructor is a veteran. He was a field artillery, you know. So there all walks of life in there, man, which was really great. And it puts you in touch with a lot of other veterans, which was really awesome. Walker Bee Ranch, he's a veteran.
Definitely. I think it's such a good thing. So this is your swarm trap setup that you've done. Is that wax on the inside of that bucket?
Yeah, I waxed the insides because bees can't draw off the plastic.
Yeah.
Walker
so how did you wax it? Just like rolled it on?
Painted it on with the brush, man.
Just a brush, yeah.
Yep. Drilled a few holes in it, and yep.
And then you go and you put them on. Like, how do you put them on? Let's see if we can open the video and see if it'll let me watch.
Yeah, definitely. So I just got them hanging on some pretty simple, man.
So they're okay. So they're that way round, are they?
Yeah.
And how? So okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. Oh, nice. I see. I like
put
that
two
design.
holes in them because the bees were having a hard time finding that hole, so I drilled another one. They found both holes eventually, you know. So
yeah. It'd be interesting to see whether you catch them in there. Not like we have real issues with any holes underneath that they don't particularly like them, but little holes like that might be alright. Maybe like if it doesn't work, maybe block the bottom off completely and just put the hole like in the side.
Put a cork in it or something.
Well, just even that, just that. See that top hole that you've got there on that one.
I'm experimenting different ways. I drilled holes in the bottom. The one I just hung out in my tree, it just got a hole in the bottom, but it's 20 feet up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to see how it works. You know, I'm experimenting different ways.
Just beeswax and lemongrass oil.
Lemongrass scent.
And can you get any black comb from your mentor? Will he give you some?
I could probably get some comb from my mentor.
I'd get some comb. Do you know what black comb is by far and away the best thing you can get? Just get some black comb.
To send a trap?
Yeah, okay. Just rest it in the trap and they absolutely love it.
I'll talk to him. And he's not far. I'm probably going to see him this week sometime. I told him we're going to take him out to dinner and stuff. But yeah, so I set up just experimented different ways, set them up different heights. Cool. Just to see how they work, man.
It's great fun. I absolutely love trapping swarms. It is so much fun and doing different ways.
And again, for me, this is like the mental health part of the class I took. Is the patience part of it, you know, learning to be able to accept situations that you can't control, you know. So there's a learning process to it, and I'm being patient with it. So I'll wait for them to come to me.
The whole mental health aspect of beekeeping is often overlooked. Like I use
it's awesome.
Retreat from the stress of normal life.
Yeah, I like to sit out there and just watch the bees, man, because it kind of blocks everything out. It really does.
So what did you do? Like, you're a veteran, but what division?
I was a mechanic out of my first duty unit while I was in the 82nd Airborne out of Fort Bragg. So I did jump duty there, and then I deployed there to Afghanistan, came back, went to 1st Armored Division, and deployed there out of Germany.
Well,
so I did 2 tours.
Thank you for your service. We're all one big organization, aren't we?
Yeah. We got to thank the ones that didn't come back, I think. Those are the ones we have to thank most of all, man. you know, we're here carrying on for them pretty much at this point. So,
Definitely.
you know, but thanks for the support, man. It's really good, you know, to know that there's a community out there that is supporting the beekeeping veterans, you know, and I was talking to some other veterans from other countries, like, hey, is there a program like this for your veterans?
I think there is something similar. I don't think it's as widespread. The guy I see opposite at work, he's like an ex-major in the army, and he did like 3 stints in Afghanistan. So I talk to him kind of often about it. Might be 2, and then he went somewhere else, I think, actually. But he was like quite high up as a major, and some of the things he told me, I couldn't go to war. Not built for it.
Thanks, Ollie. Thanks for the subscription, man. Appreciate you.
Well, I'm going to answer some more of these questions. So Graham Craven says he bought a rather expensive suit too. The Oz Armor triple layered works a treat. I've seen those suits. Good to hear that that's working for you. And then he's saying here's the opposite problem. He had 1 hive and trapped swarms, and now has 3. Worrying about how to manage and split them in 2022. I say this to a lot of people. They say, what technique can you use to manage swarm control without constantly doing splits? Yeah. And I just say to people, if you don't want to do that, do a Demaree vertical split. If you don't want to do that, just split them. And then kind of when you get to like July, just merge them back together again. Stick them back together again. Just keep on combining them. And you end up with the colonies. They overwinter so well. You get to pick the best queens. It's a really good way of doing it.
I think my opinion also is being ready for those bees to split, having the equipment necessary, having that space ready. You know your bees are going to reproduce. We know that. We know bees reproduce exponentially certain times of the year based on weather, based on food stores, based on pollen, based on their food, protein sources, everything. Bees are going to reproduce 100%. We can't stop that. That is a very natural instinct, is to grow the colony, to protect the colony, to strengthen the colony, to make sure the species survives. That's what the bee is going to do.
I think that's great advice. Really good advice. That you need to be prepared for the season.
Be prepared.
Yeah. People run out of boxes. They run out of supers. But split and recombine is a really good way to do it. And you end up cycling out the comb quite well. But you end up picking the best queens as well. So if you split, and you've got an old queen, and you've got the chance of getting a new queen. If you get that new queen mated and she looks really good, then I would suggest you just kill the old queen, merge them back together again. And then your colony next year is less likely to swarm because you've got younger queen. So you're kind of constantly building in this tolerance to them swarming. And if you get in there before they swarm, then you get more honey as well.
Yeah, just be ready for them. We're not going to stop that swarm process if we're not ready for them. You know, have the boxes ready, have the space ready for them. When you see them ready about to swarm, guess what? Go stack a box on them.
Yeah. Dry Cut Homestead has just said he sees you in lots of chats. You're becoming like a YouTube celebrity. You're going to be on everyone's chats now.
I enjoy the chats, man. It's a lot of fun. It's a different community out there. I don't have Facebook. I don't have Instagram. I'm kind of anti-social media. I really am, because I won't get into a rant about the social media platforms. This is my only kind of outlet. I live out in the country. And I like it, and I like my solitude. I like the peace and quiet, and this is where I learn a lot from you guys, man. And it's amazing. I want to.
You got good internet connection for being out in the sticks.
I actually have what is it? Fiber optic, actually.
Oh, really?
Good.
You'd never get that out here. Joe said, how many Demaree splits could you do in a season? I had a colony last year. I did 3 Demaree splits on a single box of bees. So I had a brood box, and then I split them, took them up to the top like that, and then within 2 weeks they started doing swarm cells again. So I did it again, took that bottom box up to the top, put a new box underneath, and then they did it again, and it was on 14 by 12s. So I had 4 14 by 12 boxes plus 4 supers on a colony. It was ridiculous, and I actually needed a little step to get to the top of it. And they didn't fill the top kind of 2 14 by 12 boxes, but they filled all the rest of them. So they filled 4 supers of honey and then a 14 by 12 box, which is equivalent to like a jumbo Langstroth there or thereabouts, full of heather honey, absolutely jam-packed. So you can just keep on going, Joe. And what I would say is, I've just read Joe's next question, which made me laugh. is you do that first split. So you do the split, take it up to the top. What I would say is if you don't want to keep honey in those brood boxes up top, you can just swipe them out as soon as all of the brood has emerged from them. And then you can do exactly the same thing again. So take that bottom box up, cycle it to the top, and you just keep this kind of cycling loop on there. Keeps all of the bees in that single unit, and it means that you just end up with a huge amount of honey.
Danny C, I'm sorry, I'm reading Danny C's message. Yeah,
Well,
I have PTSD, man. That's why I started working bees, man. It takes the anxiety away right away. I can't even tell you how, but it does.
I'm really sorry to do that. It's not a good thing to have, and I can completely.
I'm open about the mental health issue, man. I really am, because that's the whole class. That was the base of the foundation of the class, man, was mental health.
Yeah.
So I try to be open about that.
Yeah, well, it's good that you are, because it helps others, doesn't it, to cope with it, to see people visibly talking about it.
Yeah, and everybody's going to suffer from that condition differently, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's going to suffer from it differently. I deal with it differently. Everybody's going to deal with it differently, but there's a whole community out there that's suffering with it that, should be paid attention to. And this could probably help a lot, maybe get those bee populations back up. That's what I'm doing it for.
Yeah.
Help push the population back up.
I think it does. It's one of the best kind of mindful activities that you can do, because you have to be so focused on all the different things that are going on. But right, I'm going to ask some of these questions on here. Right, so time is honey. Be honest. Can you understand Gwenny Griffith's accent, or do you stick the subtitles on? Do you know who Gwenny Griffith is? Do you watch his videos? I don't.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry, Joe.
I'll answer the question instead, Joe. I have to put the subtitles on sometimes. But do you know what the best thing about putting the subtitles on is? The subtitles do not have a clue what he's saying. It's one of the funnest things in the world. Yeah, put the subtitles on his videos and watch what Google thinks he's saying. It is hilarious. So when he comes on, he's on in 2 weeks' time. We'll do that. He has the best accent in the whole world.
Boris, thanks for your service, man. I see you're a vet. Right on, man. Thank you.
Right, next one. Dry Cut Homestead was asking where are you located in Texas?
San Antonio. I don't give my direct location because, one, there's theft issues out here. So I don't give my direct location. Yeah. My mentor actually has 3 active theft cases right now where his gear is getting stolen. Not only his gear, but the genetics. Somebody that knows how to work bees is stealing genetics out of his colonies.
Wow.
Coming and taking the queens, the brood, and then replacing the frames with their equipment. So
it's crazy, isn't it? Like it must be rife out there, because with all like the almond pollinations, and someone else has asked a question about this. There's so much money changing hands, and I see it all the time on like big commercial Facebook groups saying I've had 400 colonies nicked, and you just think
think of that worldwide now. It's $1 billion theft industry. There's a series on Netflix called Rotten, I think. Yeah. And there's one called Honey, Guns, and Lawyers. And it's specifically all tied to the beekeeping industry, the pollination, countries creating fake honey and shipping it to other countries, creating fake labels and shipping it into the U.S. adulterated and selling it on shelves, undercutting the hardworking beekeeper big time.
Yeah, it's not good. I see they won that lawsuit recently, which is good though, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Right, I'm gonna fly through some of these questions now. I've got to go at kind of like 6. So I'm gonna ask a few more of these questions. So Joe's saying, how tall would you make a hive maximum? Ideally, like not taller than you, but get some steps and strap them down because they can fall over. Joe's saying, biggest honey crop ever from one of your hives in what year? So 2018, and it was about 120 pounds. We don't get mega crops in North Wales. I know people from South Wales that year, and they had 250 pound crops in a single year, which is pretty good. We don't get like mega crops. My average is kind of like 50, 60 pounds per colony per year. Not huge.
Hey, Laurence, I'm going to jump out and let you do your thing, man. Thanks for having me on, dude. I appreciate
you. No worries. Good to see you.
Have a good day, man.
Catch you soon. Brother. Cheers, mate. All right. Hey, well, that was a bit fun, wasn't it? People are always welcome on here. He's a good guy. I saw him on a chat the other day and knew that he could cope with coming on. So everyone's welcome. You've got the link there up there if you want to come on and have a chat. You're more than welcome. Joe saying, do different heathlands. Joe, you have lots of questions. I love it. You're keeping this chat going single-handedly. There's another guy called Joe Creaser as well, and the two Joes ask all the questions. It's fantastic. But he's saying, do different heathlands vary in the quality of heather honey, as in between New Forest, Scottish, Welsh, Yorkshire, etc.? I'm near the New Forest, and that's where I want to stick an apiary. So definitely you're going to get different qualities of honey. And then you get like a different proportions between bell honey, so bell heather honey and ling heather honey. Ling heather honey is supposed to be a lot better in terms of antibacterial, antimicrobial, but it's a lot more difficult to extract, whereas bell heather is loads, it's just easy to extract. Apparently not quite as good. But you do, yeah, you're going to get completely different makeup and composition of that honey. Obviously the Welsh is the best one, isn't it? But in all honesty, the Scottish is probably the best one. The Scottish is well known for their heather honey. They've done more testing and stuff on it. You look at Murray McGregor and you look at where he puts his bees, and it is heather as far as the eye can see in every single direction. Don't really get much of that in Wales. There's not big, huge estates that are just all heather. It kind of tends to just be like a bit here and a bit there. Like I think where we are, it's like a couple of 100 acres, which really, in terms of bees, isn't that much. We all love Gwenny Griffith. Yeah, we do. He's a good lad. Right, time is honey. Oh, you're back on there. How long does the bloom last? So we get different ones. So we got like a bit of oilseed rape that starts early in the year, but there's not that much of it around here. The spring harvest that we get is like all of our harvests in North Wales are quite slow and steady and just go on throughout the whole year. So if you set the oilseed rape aside, it's kind of like 1st of May through to maybe like last week in August, really, because you've still got a bit of heather there. So you've got May, June, a bit of a gap. Sometimes you don't get a gap, July and August, and 4 months, which is quite a good length, but it's not like you get the beans and then you're straight onto it and you get loads, or the same with the oilseed rape. It's just quite slow and steady. Graham saying, what's the difference between bell and ling heather? So it's a completely different plant. And if you look at it, it's just noticeable, like the bell heather, it's like little bell flowers, and ling heather, it just looks like ling heather. I don't even know how to describe it. But the ling heather is thixotropic, so you can't extract it normally. So you need to agitate it first. And bell heather is just like normal honey. So you just cap and extract and come straight out. But they taste very similar. I'd say ling heather's a little bit stronger, but they both kind of got that heather taste. And most moorlands have a little bit of both. You get like predominant ling moorlands and predominant bell moorlands. You generally get like a little bit of both mixed in. Well, I'm going to answer some more questions on here. Let me see what other ones I've got. I do feel bad. I don't think I'm ignoring you if you put a question on a video and I've not got back to you. It's just, you can see there's quite a lot. Right, NH Fishman has said, how about showing a floor plan layout of your planned layout and work flow through of the new system? So talking about my honey room. So I kind of did that a bit in the video, but I will do it. I'll put a little graphic on there to show how that works now. I'm so happy with my new honey extraction room. I've made so many changes to it, and the space that I've got in there now is so good. I can't believe it. I've never been so happy. So the changes I made, I got rid of the big horizontal honey warmer that I built in there, completely stripped that out. That gave me back about 2 meters square. And then I got rid of my 100-litre creamer. I got rid of my wax capping spinner. I got rid of a 100-litre tank, and I got rid of my sump, and just really streamlined it and got it to a point where I've actually got some space to work in there now. And then you haven't seen this on a video yet. I've got the joiner to build like a big box to encapsulate my Melliflow, that you can slide the Melliflow out, and then I can stack my 2 bottling machines on top of it. So I've got so much space in there now. So I'm really excited. I think I can get about 100 supers in there stacked, about 100 supers, maybe a little bit less, to work at a time, which I definitely couldn't do before. I could get about 50 before, and it was really, really tight. So I will do that. I'll do that on a future video. Joe saying, have you got a video on extracting heather honey at a hobbyist level? No, I've not got a video on it. I had a couple of shorts videos on it. I would suggest if you're doing ling heather honey at a hobbyist level, the best possible way to do it is like a hydro water press that you use for like squeezing apple juice. That's the best way of doing it. And then you get the combs and you just scrape back to the midrib, put it all in like the mesh that you get with the press, and then it's like a bladder. Like that. You inflate the bladder and it pushes it all out. About 500 quid. So not cheap, but then any other way doing it, I'm just looking at Joe. I don't know how Joe knows this. Joe Murphy. How does he know this? Favorite drum and bass artist from my DJing days. So how do you know this, Joe? Do I know you? Joe Murphy does ring a bell. Andy C. No one else is going to get that, are they? But what I would say is all the other ways for doing heather extraction is you'll get like single looseners, and they're about 100 quid each, and they're just not worth it. They take so long, and then you need to have like a tangential extractor as well. I would just say no, go down the press route. It's a lot cheaper, it's a lot easier, and save you loads of time. I was saying, I've mentioned it before, right? Okay, you absorb that knowledge. I thought it was someone stalking me there. But yeah, I do like a bit of drum and bass. It's weird, isn't it? I live this weird life in that I come from London, Southeast London. I like drum and bass. I work on a construction site, and I'm into beekeeping and giving away free flowers. Right, let's answer some more questions. This is an interesting one. I want to give out this. So Jeremy, channel member. Have you lost any hives? So here in Kent, we are losing quite a lot in our club. Some people have lost most of their hives. I watched your video on a bellow queen mating hive and I have one coming. Do you think the queen I have in an apiary could be used with bees she produced to populate a partition down area? So that's not the comment I thought it was going to be. So Jeremy posted another comment on there previously saying a lot of people are losing their colonies in Kent, he's saying, because they're trying to go treatment free. And people have been saying you shouldn't treat your bees. It's for the greater good. You should not treat them. They need to build up a tolerance to varroa. And I think like what's strange with bees is that if you do that in year one, you get fresh bees on fresh comb, and then you don't treat them for the first year, and you get them through the year. People kind of think you don't need to treat bees. My bees are tolerant to varroa. You don't need to treat them. So it reinforces the attitude that you don't need to treat. And then you go into the next year, and you might get them through again, and they're thinking, that's it, we don't need to treat, we are treatment-free beekeepers. And I always think it's this kind of 3-year cycle, like the comb starts getting older and blacker, and the mite load starts getting heavier and heavier. And then you just get these catastrophic events where swathes of hives just die out, and people think, oh, I wonder what that was. And it's clearly linked to treatment-free beekeeping. It doesn't take, it's not like it doesn't happen overnight. You say, right, I'm not going to treat this winter, and all your colonies just die. You probably get most of them through for a single winter. But it's that cumulative effect of not treating, because the mites build up at different levels of the year. And then the second year is going to be so much more difficult for you. And I would suggest in the second year, you'd lose a lot more of your colonies. And then in the third year, that's when you're likely to get this kind of catastrophic event of most of your hives just getting blitzed out. And that is not to say that that's what happens to all treatment-free beekeepers. I know that some people who are more isolated from others, they'll breed from stocks that are shown to be resistant to it, and they can build on that. So it's not as straightforward as that. But I feel like really bad for people who have paid good money for all of their beehives and their nukes and their extractors and everything that goes with beekeeping, because it is not cheap. And then they're told to not treat them, to not look after them, and not give them the medication they need to be healthy, because it's the right thing to do. And then they die. And then they're a bit like, whoops, all of my bees are dead. And then you've got to start again. The chat over there is talking about drum and bass now. It's great. Love it. Right, let's have a look at a couple more of these. These are the spammy ones that I see. Don't click on those, they are spam. Right, so we're down to, these are quite old comments now, so 2 months ago. So Paul, is that right? Is that how you say it? I hope to sell 20 nukes this summer. Any advice on getting the word out about them? So if you weren't in Ireland, I wouldn't be answering this question, because I would see you as direct competition. But the fact that you're in Ireland, Facebook Marketplace is probably the best way to do it. But also try not to kind of run before you can walk. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I just mean it in like, don't let people down. Don't say you're going to sell them to them and take orders if you can't fulfill them, because it will do like long-term damage doing that. And target. So you hope to sell 20 nits this summer. My suggestion would be don't sell them in the summer, overwinter them, sell them in April, and you'll probably get twice as much for them. You might only get half of them through, so you balance out, but that would be my advice. Right, I've done all the questions on here. I've gone through. I've answered pretty much all the questions that I wanted to answer. So I'm gonna go back to single screen mode now, and I will answer some more questions in the chat. But I'm not going to stay here all day. I'm going to let people go out, and I'll probably go and do a quick check on my apiary to see if nothing's been damaged. So let's see if there's any questions. Right, Joe saying, if you started again, what hive type would you choose? I would go with the Abello 12 frame, but it's a difficult one. Like if you'd have asked me that like a year ago, it would have been well, maybe not a year ago, 6 months ago, it would have been the Abello 12 frame, because I do love it. It works so well. But with the prices going up at the moment, it's hard to see past just kind of cedar seconds. That's what I would go for. I'll do a video on this. Build my own floor, cedar seconds brood box, poly ashforth feeder, and then like a second cedar roof. That would be my setup. No supers. I'd use everything National Deep. Rich saying, I think you should upload a video of your DJing days. I wasn't good enough to be on video, but I did love DJing. It was good fun. So yeah, so if no one else has got any more, I'll give it like five minutes more. If people want to put any last minute questions in there, I will answer them. But if not, I'm going to go get a cup of tea and then go and check on my bees. I hope all of your bees have survived the storm. It's definitely died down here. It's really good. Joe saying he's noticed a lot of beekeepers all using mediums. Yeah, that's the big regret for me, is that I've got 3 different systems. They're all compatible with each other. I've got the 14x12, the National Deep, and the Shallow, and I use them interchangeably. And it's messy, and I wish everything was National Deeps all the way. It would make my life a lot easier. And I don't want to have to sell it and start again, because second-hand kit, you never get anywhere near as much money. So no more questions. So I'm done. I think I'm done for my chat. That's a good solid 2 hours chat. Thanks for the same people who always come in and dial into all of these chats. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the little cameo from Time is Honey as well. I certainly did. But I'm going to post a new video tonight. I think I'm going to do the Hive entrances one. So have a look at that. And I'll see you all next time. How good a time was that? My daughter's back. See you later.